These bring back memories. My kids lived on Cheerios. It was cheap. I'm so proud to be back here with all of you again. We're joined by some incredible individuals, and I want to thank all of them for joining us on a very, very special occasion. You heard the names of my cabinet members welcomed. I want to acknowledge that there's many elected officials who've joined us. I thank them. Tasia Brown, I want to thank you for what you do for this facility, but also as a mom. And to be, where'd you go, Tasia? Oh, there you go. There you are. Thank you for being willing to share your story once again with all of us. And Richard Bury, synonymous with lifting people up. He has redefined what it means to take care of each other, and I thank you. And Kate and everyone else, Kate Breslin, will be hearing from all of them. I want to thank them. But, you know, when we started our State of the State back in January, I wasn't accustomed to talking about my own life's experiences as much. But when I told someone in an interview about what it was like to be a young mom starting out, what it was like to not have a job anymore because I couldn't find childcare, what it was like when our income was cut down to one, and my husband decided to leave the private sector to go work for government, not the highest paying jobs. All of a sudden, our tiny little place to live was nice for the two of us, and all of a sudden there were two more little ones in it. So I understood what it was like when you go to the suburban Costco. I lived in the city, but go out there and get a big shopping cart and load it up with the discount paper towels and the toilet paper rolls and the baby formula and the diapers, and hoping you can save a few pennies, but also I always had my hand clutching coupons, right? Anything I could do to knock a few dollars off, I cut all those coupons out. And I will say, we've come a long way. I've been blessed in my life. Come a long way from my parents, who started living in a trailer park when they were first married, and they struggled. But I'll tell you this, I never forgot the people that are still in that trailer park where my parents started out, because a lot of people never got out, and their families stayed, or the people that started out where I did, who are still living in those little apartments, just trying to make ends meet. I never forget them. And they are part of the story that I hold deep in my heart when I think about everyone in this entire state that I fight for every day. When I'm in Albany fighting for budget that lifts the people of this great state up. And I will not stop fighting for them. I said then and I say now, your family is my fight. And that means I will fight tooth and nail to make sure you have everything you need to succeed. Because everybody wants the same thing. You just want to get ahead. You don't want to get knocked down. You want to get back up. You want your kids to have a better life than maybe you had. That's as simple as the American dream is, that our kids will do better than we did. But this generation today, they're not sure they're going to even have that. They can't get that apartment. Even an apartment. When I was growing up, having a home was the long shot dream, owning your own home. Now getting an apartment is a big deal that you can afford. Get out of your parents' house to start a life by yourself, or get away from the 5 or 6 roommates that you're cramped in space with right now. This is what we're striving for. These are the voices that I hear in my head every day. What can you do to help, Governor? As I said, your family, no matter how big or small, is my fight. And I vow to deliver on a sweeping affordability agenda that does something that is so profound but yet so simple. Putting more money back in your pockets. And promises made, promises kept. We got it done. With your help and the help of everybody in this room, we got it done. And I'm not talking pocket change. I'm talking about $5,000 for families that are struggling. $5,000. And right now, we're living in really frightening times. I mean, you may not earn your living as a banker or Wall Street broker. They're scared too. But some of you have a 401k plan that you're counting on, right? And you're watching that stock market. You might not have a lot of money. That's okay. You're hoping it'll grow over time. But you sure as heck weren't counting on it getting smaller over time. So this is the anxiety that's in our families, middle-class families, struggling families, working families. So if you can't take a lot of stress, don't read the news. That's all I can say. Because right now, even this morning, looking at the contraction of our economy, we've always grown. That is our strength. America always grows. We don't shrink. And now to see the headlines that our economy is shrinking, what does that mean for the people that are on the margins already? It pushes them right off the cliff. That's why this moment is more important now than ever before, that we find a path to understand that cry for help and help them financially. It's only been 100 days, 101, 1,362 left. But the Washington administration, I grew up at a time when government was always viewed as a force of good, right? Government was never weaponized against its own citizens. That wasn't the promise that was given to us by our founding fathers in the birth of our country 250 years ago. We were going to have a government that was going to be on our side to fight for us. And throughout most of our history, that's how it's been. Yes, we've left some people behind, but we always find a way to pick them back up, make up for lost time for those who were oppressed in the early days of our country. But where we are now is unprecedented. I mean, think about the thousands of federal workers who thought they had a secure job. I convened a roundtable of federal workers from New York who lost their jobs unceremoniously. One young man, a veteran who did tours of duty in Afghanistan, came back and wanted to return the favor to his fellow veterans, worked at the VA office in the Bronx, got a note on Valentine's Day that you're fired. I gathered him and others, and I can't tell you the sense of betrayal. I served my country. I thought they'd be there for me. I want to just give back, and they won't even let me do that. The despair in the voices of these people work at the unemployment insurance office, people helping others. They went to a profession in government to help others, not to be dumped as if they don't matter, that their jobs don't have value. And that was so painful for them when I heard their voices. Dismantling places like the Department of Education, Title I programs, you know who they help? They help the kids who need it the most. How do you abandon them? Closing Social Security offices. You know how hard it is when you're a senior citizen and you're trying to figure out the whole system of Social Security, how you get your checks, and you want to be able to walk into an office because maybe you're not as good on the internet as your grandkids are? You're still figuring it out? That's all right. But you thought you could walk into a Social Security office and ask a real person for help, and guess what? They've been fired, they're laid off, they're closing offices all over our state. They don't care about them. And the tariffs, which are nothing other than a fancy way of spelling tax, that's all it is. You see what happened when Amazon wanted to let everybody know how much it was going to be? Well, they got smacked down real quick, didn't they? That's what's so scary about this. One company wants people to know that it's not their fault or their supplier's fault that the prices went up. They want to put the responsibility where it came from, which is the federal government, and they were told no by Donald Trump, and they had to take it down. That's scary power. That's scary power. Never been exercised like that before. Telling private companies what to do with their billing. So, did I say unprecedented times? Yeah. And now, yesterday, you hear, don't tell your kids this, Santa Claus might not be coming this year because the companies that import toys and gifts, my mom had a small business, a flower and gift shop. She would do her ordering now for the holidays. So this is what small businesses do. They always operate with this sense of optimism, that there's going to be purchasers for this product that I'm looking at in May, in December. Right now, they may not even have the product to sell. Just think about that. Your child wants the greatest toy they've ever seen. They see it advertised everywhere. Their friends might have it. And you can't get it, not because it ran out. You couldn't find it in the store here. The store never had it in the first place. That's what we're heading into, my friends. And I'm done talking about the price of eggs. Just give up eating them. I mean, it's just outrageous, outrageous. You know, you can make a really good chocolate cake with applesauce. Actually, I did that. I digress, it's also a vegan cake. But eggs and avocado, everything. It's like, it's hard. And working families and middle-class New Yorkers and people they deserve more than just a slap in the face and a smack down. And it's not about blue states and red states and all that. We've got plenty of both in this state. It's about right versus wrong, right? You do what's right. It's simple. You do what's right. And I grew up in a social justice Catholic household where I said my parents didn't have much. We bought our clothes at used clothing stores and ate more than our share of tuna noodle casserole. God, I hated that. But you could stretch it for a family of 8, right? 1 can of tuna fish, lots of noodles, and can of mushroom soup. Wow, that was dinner. It was better than the pancakes the night before. So my family, we ended up fine, but the early days were hard. But now, you can't but feel for people. You can't but feel for them. And in my social justice Catholic family, even when we didn't have much, we were still out there taking food to the poor in the city of Buffalo. And I remember my mother was very pregnant with probably number 5 or 6. And we walked up the flights, what were called tenements at the time, where they sheltered away the people in poverty in the city, locked them away so you didn't have to see them. And the elevator was broken, and my mother and I trudged up about 10 flights of stairs, and she could barely make it. But we had food to take to a family, and we sat there and wanted to talk to them. More than the food, it was the companionship. I learned this as a child. I saw what we're supposed to do, because there's always someone who has less than you do. And that is our responsibility, regardless of your religion. We are put on this earth to make a difference in the lives of others, at all of our ages, even as a child. So when I think of those people, and the people in this great city, and the people all over the state of New York, it's about putting money in pockets so you don't have as much stress. And I'm going to keep those fights up. I don't care. I don't care who I'm fighting with. I have a lot of brothers. We're always fighting. But here's what we're starting to do. This affordability agenda, here's what it's all about. We make it real simple. For middle-class taxpayers, we'll have the lowest tax rates you've seen in 70 years, benefiting 8.3 million New Yorkers. Did we get that done? Yes, we did. I fought to triple the child tax credit for families with young children, the biggest expansion in our history, and I'm telling you this, when I first became governor 3 years ago, it was 0. Somebody decided that kids were only expensive age 4 and up. Clearly not parents, because you see it, you buy the clothes. It's 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9. They're always growing. They're growing out of their clothes and their shoes, and even the diapers, you got to get the next size of diapers, right? So I said, wait a minute, I'm a mom, new grandma, my granddaughter turned 3 today. Happy birthday, Sophia. But we need more money for the families that have little ones because they're so expensive. $1,000 back in their pockets. We got it done. Yes, we did. We got it done. For older than that, it's $500 per child. We also fought for this. Many parts of our state, the kids do not have free breakfasts and lunches in their schools. And what I realized was there's an incredible stigma on those children who need help, who are getting subsidized meals. They stand out. And the last thing you want to do when you're a child is stand out and be different than anybody else. And when I was announcing this in January on Long Island, a Republican member of the state legislature came up to me and says, "This is transformative. I was that kid who skipped lunches because mine was subsidized. My parents didn't have much money, and I was too ashamed, and the stigma was too great. I don't want a single child in this state to have a tummy growling when they're supposed to be learning because their parents could not afford it. Everybody gets it. We're going to get it done. $1,600. $1,600 in one family's pocket with one child. And I can't stop inflation. It's one thing we cannot do here in the state of New York, but I know this. Everyone across the state paid more over the last few years because inflation drove up prices. When you have a sales tax on a product, You paid more than you ever thought you would because of inflation. So the state collected more than we anticipated in sales tax revenue. Now, some people are saying, just stash it away. Don't worry, I have a lot stashed away. Okay, I've been stashing money away to make sure we're ready for the downturns. But I said, wait a minute, the people who paid for this, shouldn't they get it back? Right? Don't you think they should get it back? We'll put up to $400 back in the pockets of families. So add it all up, nearly $5,000 in relief. That's real money. It'll make a real difference in the lives of families. Just ask Tasia Brown. You'll hear from her in a couple of minutes. I met her back in January when we first talked about what it would mean to expand this child tax credit. We did it right at the Y. And I spoke about her in my State of the State. She works here. She's a mom of 3, including a 2-year-old. God bless you. And she told me she got a credit check last year because we did increase it. She said it felt like a birthday. She paid, think about that. It comes in the mail. It's like, I wasn't expecting this. You think, well, I'm going to help pay the utility bill? Yeah, that helps. You can buy some extra groceries. You might be able to take your kids out to dinner without worrying. Can you afford it? You know what? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I remember my kids were little. There was a place called Bob's Big Boy. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, kids could eat for $1.99. Guess who was sitting there every Thursday with kids eating for $1.99? That's what it means to people. You want to have your kid like the other kids and be able to go out to dinner once in a while, right? The simple things, the simple things. So next year, families like yours are going to have more money in your pocket. That's for people like Tasia. Thank you. Middle class tax cut, child tax credit, free meals, inflation rebates. That's the list of what I fought for, and we got it done. And I will never, as I said before, never stop fighting for the families of this state who make us so great. I am your warrior. You're standing with me. We go into war and we fight back. We fight back against the Trump tariffs. We go against everything that's making your lives more expensive. And it starts right here in rooms like this. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Move on up and keep on wishing. Remember your dream is your only skin.
Tasia Brown.
So keep on pushing.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tasia Brown. I work here at the Vanderbilt YMCA as a program director. As the governor said, I am a parent of 3. And as you know, as New Yorkers or as a parent, it's very expensive here in New York. The rising costs and the expenses make it extremely hard at times. Since inflation happened, it's even more difficult to pay bills or to have a full refrigerator. When I received the child tax last year, it was like the governor said, it was feeling like a birthday gift. I didn't expect it. I was, of course, happy. I had some extra money to pay a bill early, to put more food in my refrigerator for my children. The tax credit was just very beneficial for my family at that time. I'm excited now, thanks to Governor Hochul, and we're going to be getting even more money with the tax credit. I was here back in January with the governor when she announced the proposal to expand the tax credit. I believe that she would get it done, and she has gotten it done. Thank you so much, everybody. Yes, great. This means more money back in our pockets to cover the cost of food and other expenses for our children. And because of Governor Hochul, her leadership, we're getting even more. Families like mine will also benefit from a tax cut, an inflation refund check, and free school lunches for all of our children. Amazing, amazing. It's even more money in our pockets. I am so grateful. Yes. I would like to thank thank Governor Hochul again for all of her advocating for working families and making me feel valued as a New Yorker. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing for the New York State. It just goes to show that when the governor says she's going to get something done, she gets it done. Woman power. Thank you again for your continuous hard work for families in New York State. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And next up, we have Richard.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So grateful to be here today. So grateful to you, Governor Hochul. You know, they say that a budget is a reflection of our values. And this budget says that New York State values children. It values opportunity. It values families. As you heard from the governor, we all know that New Yorkers are struggling right now, and low-income New Yorkers are struggling most of all. Shockingly, this state, this great state, ranks 40th in child poverty. The human toll of that fact is devastating, and so is the economic toll in our state. It costs our state over $60 billion a year in lost productivity, higher health care costs, increased social service spending, and the cost of future incarceration. But it does not have to be that way. With your leadership, Governor, this budget says that poverty is not inevitable. It is a policy choice, and you are choosing to make a different choice for our great state. At Robin Hood, we invest in proven solutions that lift New Yorkers permanently out of poverty. And we know that expanding the Empire State Child Tax Credit is one of the most effective tools we have to fight childhood poverty. As you heard, New York is tripling the tax credit for those children under 4 to $1,000. I never understood why it did not capture it. No one's ever been able to explain to me why children under 4 were not covered. And providing a $500 credit for children aged 4 for older children, effectively doubling the credit for the average family. And with your leadership, Governor, the credit will finally be fully refundable, so even families with little or no income will be able to receive the full benefit. Nearly 190,000 children. That's how many children whose families will now be eligible for the tax credit. 190,000 children who will be less likely to go hungry, lose stable housing, or end up in a medical emergency without the funds to pay for it. 190,000 children who will be more likely to excel socially, emotionally, and academically. But of course, you did not stop there. We heard about the investment in free breakfast and lunch, following in New York City's footsteps, and what that means for the average family. Your budget is making an additional $350 million investment to make up shortfalls in the New York City's version of the Child Care Assistance Program, $2.2 billion statewide, to ensure that thousands and thousands of families continue to have access to affordable child care. And finally, in the face of rising costs, the budget is providing 8 million New Yorkers with checks up to $400 per family. I know for you, Governor, this focus on children and families is nothing new. Since you started leading our state, your administration has advanced policies that the Urban Institute projects will lower childhood poverty in the state by 18%. Today, let's applause for that. Today, in a world where brave political leadership is so lacking, where effective political leadership is so lacking, I am proud to live in a state where our leaders have the courage and the moral clarity and the political will to do more than just talk about helping families thrive, but actually are committed to making it happen. I want to thank you, Governor, thank the members of the legislature, Leader Stuart Cousins, Speaker Hasty, and the entire state legislature for continuing to fight on behalf of the children and families of New York State. I could not be prouder. And now it's my honor to introduce my friend, Kate Breslin.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Governor Hochul, for bringing us together today. And thank you, Tasia and Rich, for your remarks. Thank you to our legislative leaders who, together with the governor, are hashing out the tough decisions we asked them to take on. One of the things we're here to celebrate today is a budget agreement that, when implemented, represents the most significant expansion and increase in New York's child tax credit, known as the Empire State Child Credit, since its inception. In addition to an increase in the credit's amount from $330 to $1,000 for children under 4, and from $330 to $500 for children 4 to 16, a major improvement and expansion is a structural change that is designed to make sure that children in families with very low incomes, those who need it the most, can get the full amount of the credit. This is a really big deal. More than 2.5 million children will benefit from the credit, with 190,000 newly eligible. It will be critical to make sure we get the word out and make sure all eligible children get the full credit they're eligible for. Schuyler Center, the organization that I lead, and our partners are eager to work with the governor and the state agencies to really make sure that this happens and families get the cash in their pockets. Back in 2021, the legislature passed nearly unanimously, and Governor Hochul signed the Child Poverty Reduction Act, committing the state to reducing child poverty by half over a decade, with attention to racial inequity. It directed our leaders to invest with intention to make considered decisions designed to reduce child poverty. Today, I am so grateful to our leaders, Governor Hochul, our leaders in the Senate and the Assembly. They're finding consensus and making those concrete and intentional investments. It's estimated that this year's agreed-upon child tax credit improvements will reduce child poverty by 8%. And universal free school meals and funding for child care assistance will save New York families money, improve access to healthy meals, and help parents get to school and work. At Schuyler Center for Analysis and Advocacy, the organization that I lead, our small but mighty staff, board, and partners are incongruously wildly impatient and astonishingly patient. We believe New Yorkers, we, together with our leaders, can create a future where our leaders do the things, analyze the data, listen to the people, and make concrete and intentional choices about investments that lift children up and lift families up when they need it the most. And with that, create a community where we all have the opportunity to thrive. I appreciate being here with you today and going forward together. Thanks.
That concludes our program. Thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you again.